webinar is being recorded, and the recording and slides will be emailed to the address you provided during registration sometime next week. Attendees are muted, so if you have a question, you can feel free to type them into the Q&A box. You'll see there's a Q&A box and a chat box. If you can leave the chat box clear just for technical issues and put your question for financial aid in the Q&A box, that would be great. And then, so for this evening, we have two special presenters, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Loretta, do you want to go first? I think you're on mute, Loretta.
Did you get it? Okay. I was looking for it. Thank you. My name is Loretta Jones. I work with ECPI University. I've been in the financial aid world for 21 years. So I'm excited to be here and share some knowledge.
And then Chad, you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Chad Sartini. I work in the University Financial Aid and Scholarships Office at Virginia Tech. Loretta has me beat. I'm 13 years in financial aid. Thanks for everyone being here.
And then I have just two questions for you all. What is one financial aid tip or resource that you like to share? And then what do you like to do in your spare time? Loretta, you can go first if you'd like.
Okay. The one thing I always like to make sure our students know is that they should never be paying for anything. Do not pay to do a FAFSA. Do not pay to apply for a scholarship. And in my spare time, I like to sew and quilt.
Okay, nice. I put a sewing machine on my Christmas list. Yes, I do a Christmas list still, so I might be reaching out to you for some tips on how to sew. And Chad, how about you?
Let's see. I guess one of the things that I find myself repeating throughout presentations is know how your different colleges are communicating with you throughout the admissions financial aid process so that you can follow up with them if they need more information from you. And then as far as spare time, I like to, I binge watch a lot of TV, I'm not gonna lie. I also like to watch football and I like to play golf.
Okay, what's your favorite TV show?
Oh my gosh, my favorite TV show. One of my favorites, and I hate to say it out loud, it's because of the title, it's Schitt's Creek.
Oh, right, yeah.
I love that one.
Which is, to me, just one of the funniest shows ever. I think I've watched all of it 3 times through.
Okay, that's funny. Well, cool. Okay, so I am going to show my face really quickly so you do know there are real people on this on this webinar, but then I'm going to go back dark because I kind of overbooked myself. My 3-year-old is going to be home soon, so we'll see how that turns out. So here I am. Can you see me?
We see you.
Okay, I'm Tierney, and I'm here, and things are about to be crazy behind the scenes when my 3-year-old gets home from gymnastics. But it's good to see everybody. All right.
I have 2 dogs, and I'm hoping they stay quiet. Usually they do pretty good.
Okay, so just a heads up to all the attendees. All right, so.
Hey, Tierney.
Yes.
I was trying to answer a question in the chat from Wayne. Wayne asked if I watch Hokie football, and I cannot get my answer to send, but Wayne, the answer is yes, of course. Go Hokies.
Okay. Let me see. I don't see that. Maybe he sent it just to you. I was looking, but I don't know.
Okay, he may have, but Wayne, I can't send it back to you. Sorry.
Okay. Well, Loretta, you want to? Oh, who's first? Chad, are you first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
You can go ahead when you're ready.
All right. So thanks everyone for being here today. This is what we're going to talk about over the course of the presentation. What is financial aid? What are the need components? What types of aid there are out there? How do you apply for it? Then we're going to get into some nitty gritty about dependency status and who's the parent, the effect of outside aid on your financial aid award, what sort of things happen that you might want to contact the financial aid office and tell them about changes in circumstances, and then what your next steps are. So what is financial aid? Financial aid basically consists of funds provided to students and their families to help pay for post-secondary education. It helps to bridge the gap between the cost of attendance and the expected family contribution. And I'm going to explain what those two phrases mean here in the next few slides. So the cost of attendance is the estimated amount that a college publishes that it will cost to go to school for the fall and spring semester of a year. And it includes these components: tuition and fees, room and board if the school has, well, even room and board if there's no resident. Let me back up. I'm stumbling over myself. I'm starting over. Tuition fees, room and board, whether you live on or off campus, books, travel, personal supplies, and other. So each year we go through a process, each college goes through a process of coming up with a cost of attendance. And the cost of attendance is an estimate. Okay, that's a very important thing to remember. So as you look at college web pages and you encounter costs of attendance, you're going to see costs that vary all across the board. All right, so the cost of attendance at Virginia Tech is going to be different than the cost at ECPI, different than the cost of attendance at Harvard, you know. So these are going to vary all across the board because tuition and fees at Tech is different than tuition and fees at other schools. Now we say it's an estimate because we have to basically guess. We don't guess. We calculate very well what tuition fees, room and board, travel, and all these things are going to be for the upcoming year. So for example, at Virginia Tech, our board does not set our tuition until late spring. We have to have the cost of attendance ready to go once we start awarding, and we'll start awarding our incoming class that's been accepted in the early decision process, so in December. So we've got a few months before the actual tuition and fees show up. So in the cost of attendance, your tuition and fees and room and board, if you stay on campus, are typically billable costs. So those are the items that you would see on a university or college bill. The other costs help you budget for travel, personal expenses, books and supplies, and other things. So a cost of attendance is not the actual cost you will pay, but there are components such as tuition and fees and room and board, if you're on campus, that will be part of the bill. Okay. So the next component in our calculation is the expected family contribution, or the EFC. And financial aid, we like to use acronyms all the time. So, we say FAFSA when we're talking about the free application for federal student aid. We say EFC when we're talking about expected family contribution. We talk about COA when we talk about cost of attendance. And it's really easy for us to fall into our acronym mode. So if we say an acronym that you don't understand, or if you forgot what it was, just let us know and we will we'll refresh. So the expected family contribution comes from the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA. So the main components of this are the parent contribution and student contribution, and they really these numbers come from family or parent and student income and assets. And the number also takes into account household size. And when you do the FAFSA, you're entering family information, income, assets. Income is from 2 years ago. So those of you who are in the presentation, if you are seniors this year and you're applying to college, you're going to be doing the 22-23 FAFSA, and the income information you will use is from 2020. But the FAFSA explains that, and the FAFSA also has tools to help you, and you can import income tax information directly from the IRS. But this expected family contribution number stays the same from college to college. So your cost of attendance differs from school to school, but your expected family contribution travels from school to school. So when you fill out the free application for federal student aid, you list the colleges and universities to which you want to attend on the FAFSA, and we get the results, which includes this expected family contribution. Okay. So what do we do with that? So we take that cost of attendance that the school has calculated, and we subtract the expected family contribution from the FAFSA, and we get a student's financial need. All right. So let's just use round numbers here real quick and say the estimated cost of attendance to attend school X is $25,000. Remember, that's fall and spring, and that's tuition fees, room and board, personal, transportation, books and supplies. So $12,500 a semester. And let's say the expected family contribution comes out to be $5,000. So the example that we're giving here, the financial need would be $20,000. And so with that $20,000, financial aid offices are going to try to build a financial aid package to help meet some of that need. Depending on where you apply, some schools try to meet all need because they have the funds to do it. That group of schools is very small. Okay, next slide. So when we're building a financial aid packet, we're going to be looking at where sources of financial aid are. So as we build financial aid, we're going to be looking at money from the federal government, from the state government, and from the college and university. For your part as students, you're going out and you're applying for scholarships and things like that through private foundations. Maybe parent employer or your employer has some sort of college scholarship program, and then professional and service organizations. Your high schools often will keep good lists of this for local financial aid sources. But what we're going to focus really on is federal and state and some college, because these are the ones that require the FAFSA. All right. So we see where financial aid comes from. Now we have types of financial aid. So your first two, scholarships and grants, those are your gift aid. They're your free money, the money that doesn't have to be paid back. Then work study and loans are called self-help aid. Work study is just like it sounds. You're working while you're going to school. This is a federal program. So you do submit a FAFSA to see if you're eligible, and you can get a job on campus or off campus and earn some money while you're going to school. In most cases, those funds are paid directly to the student, so it's really money that doesn't come off the bill. Okay. Then your final type of financial aid are loans, and of course, loans being under that category of self-help aid. They're self-help because ultimately they're helping you go to school, but you have to pay them back. Okay. So scholarships, again, scholarships don't have to be paid back. Some may have some sort of, agreement that you meet certain requirements to keep it, or agreement to serve after graduation. Think of your ROTC type scholarships in that regard. Scholarships are usually going to be based on merit, special skill, unique characteristic, and or need. So think of things like orchestra, marching band, athletics, robot club, different things like that. You might find scholarships out there for. So you're going to have your civic organizations, churches, employers, and schools be sources of these. So at Virginia Tech, for example, we have scholarships, and students need to submit an additional application to be considered for those scholarships. And I think that's important. A lot of this type of financial aid, the scholarships, are going to have extra steps. So it may be an application in addition to the free application for federal student aid, like we do here, or like we have here at Virginia Tech. Some schools do scholarship competitions that as you go through it, maybe you had to write an additional essay, and then you're selected for a campus interview, and you come to campus and you go through that kind of process. So they can be super competitive. Or they can be like we have at Tech, not that they're not competitive, but we have a lot. So we have a general application, and then we go through and award that as part of the financial aid awarding process. We do want you to know, as Loretta mentioned at the top of this presentation, that you want to be aware of scams. You don't pay for free money, okay? There are plenty of these scams out there, so just be smart. If it looks good, too good to be true, if it says, we're going to help you maximize the amount of money you can get from the federal government and all the money you can get from private organizations, all you got to do is pay us $39.99. You need to walk away. Those are scams. Okay. Grants are the other type of gift aid or money that doesn't have to be paid back. Generally, these are going to be based on financial need. The two largest sources of these are going to be the federal government and state governments. And then, of course, institutions may have some grant money as well. So your federal grants, and this is where the FAFSA, or the free application for federal student aid, really comes into play, because it's the federal form to see if you're eligible for the federal Pell Grant, which is the largest grant program offered by the federal government, and a smaller grant program called the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant. Both of these grants are for students with high need. So if we go back to the example where we took the cost of attendance minus the expected family contribution, and we got the remaining need, the high need would be someone who's got a very low EFC. So someone with, say, a 0 EFC would have $25,000 in need. That's high need. That person is going to be eligible for Pell Grant, potentially also for the Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant. The Commonwealth of Virginia also has some grant programs to help students attend college. The two of the larger programs are the Commonwealth Award and the Virginia Guaranteed Assistance Program. These are for public schools in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And in most cases, you don't have to do anything but do the FAFSA and apply to the college, and the college is going to review you for eligibility. There's not going to be an extra step. The Virginia Tuition Assistance Grant Program is the tuition grant for students attending private institutions in the Commonwealth. And there may be an extra step. You may have to submit a form to the college to which you're applying to identify you as someone who may be eligible for that grant. Back up a little, the Commonwealth Award and the Virginia Guaranteed Assistance Program grants, those amounts will vary by school. So you may be eligible for the Virginia Guaranteed Assistance Program and apply to Tech, UVA, JMU, and George Mason. And that Virginia Guaranteed Assistance Program and Commonwealth, for that matter, are going to be different in all four of those schools. Another thing to keep in mind, you can only get one of the two. You're not going to get both a Virginia Guaranteed Assistance Program grant and a Commonwealth grant. So only one of the two. So you got your Virginia Tuition Assistance Grant. And Tierney, you may need to help me real quick on this. Is that a set amount across the board for private schools?
VTAG, yes, it is.
Okay, I thought so, but I wasn't 100% sure, because that's making me go back to when I was in school and got that grant, which was a long time ago.
Well, not too long ago.
Oh, so much longer than than I want to admit. So some other state grant programs, a 2-year college transfer grant. So for students who attend a Virginia community college and then transfer to a 4-year school, you complete your associate's degree and you can be reviewed for eligibility for that. And that one may require a form to the college. The college may review it based on your transcript. It just kind of depends. You need to look at the college websites when you're looking at that. Then we've got some smaller programs, Virginia Military Survivors and Dependents Education Program for students who have a parent who maybe, I don't want to misspeak on this, so you want to look this up on the SCHEV website, but it has to do with parent loss or fully disabled. Is that right, Tierney?
Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on, I'm here. You're right, or 90% disabled, at least 90% disabled.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. During wartime service, though. So, yeah, we'll have some links to some resources at the end, and we'll make sure you guys see those, and I'll also email them out later. So.
We've got workforce credential grants, so that's working through workforce offices at the community colleges to get credentialed in things like CNA, Microsoft, different things like that. And then finally, the G3, Get Skilled, Get a Job, and Get Ahead, which is a community college program that allows folks in certain certificate programs to basically have free tuition. So it's a last payer type of award. So you do the FAFSA, you see what you're eligible for, and then that money kicks in at the end. And finally, institutional grants, which really, it's going to vary by institution. At Virginia Tech, you do the FAFSA, and we're going to see what sort of institutional grants for which you're eligible. And that's going to work pretty similarly across the board with your 4-year schools. Institutional grants at 2-year community colleges is pretty rare. They have much more limited funding than the 4-year schools do. So that was a lot of information on one slide. I got to take a breath and have a swig of water. Okay. Work study. I basically summed this up a minute ago, but it's part-time employment while enrolled in college. The student does have to do the FAFSA. So it's really the student earning some pocket money to help pay for expenses. Again, this is FAFSA required, so there is a financial need component, and it differs from school to school. At Virginia Tech, a student is eligible if they select on their FAFSA that they are interested in work study, or they don't know, one of the two. So on the FAFSA, there's a question, are you interested in federal work study? 3 options, yes, I am, I don't know, or no, I'm not. If you select no, we don't review you for eligibility at Tech, but if you select yes and I don't know, we do. And you have to have an EFC of $10,000 or less. You can work on or off campus. And not all colleges participate. So you'll want to look at the college web pages. That's usually pretty easy to find. Most of your 4-year schools and your 2-year community colleges will have a work study option. And loans, everybody's favorite L word. So I like to be real with folks. I do a presentation at Virginia Tech Open House every year in front of 400 or 500 people, and I get to my loan slide, which is pretty similar to this one, I'm not gonna lie. And I'm like, we got to be real here. Most families are going to have to borrow some money to go to school. And that's the reality of the situation. If you remember back when I mentioned that there are some schools out there that can meet full need, some schools meet full need with loans as part of the award package. Some schools meet full need with no loans, and that number of schools is very small. We're talking very competitive, mainly private universities in the United States. So the student does the FAFSA, and the student will have federal student loan eligibility. The parent can then also apply for a federal loan, the Parent Plus loan. As far as repayment goes, there's no repayment while the student is in school for the student loans unless they drop below half-time enrollment, which at Virginia Tech would be dropping below 6 credits. And the Parent Plus loan, after completing the FAFSA and in May of the year that you're applying to college, so next May for you seniors, parents, if you need to do a plus loan, that's when the Parent Plus loan application comes out. It's not a long process. You do have to go to the federal site to do it. You can defer payment while your student is in school, but that one is going to accrue interest. The federal programs offer various repayment options, and these are why these are potentially better than going the private loan route. The private loans are also an option. And so a little bit more about loans. So the student program is divided into 2 types of loans, the subsidized loan and the unsubsidized loan. The subsidized loan is a need-based loan. So the student has to show financial need, like we talked about before. And the subsidized loan has a fixed interest rate, but the interest does not accrue while the student is in school enrolled in at least 6 credits. Okay, so this is a great loan. When we're talking about looking at the future, we look at loans potentially as an investment in the student's future. This is the best loan investment that is available out there. So you do have to do a FAFSA to complete that. The other type of loan is unsubsidized, and the unsubsidized is a non-need based loan, again, through the FAFSA with a fixed interest rate, but the interest is accruing while the student is in school. Neither of these loans require repayment while enrolled. And then the Federal Direct Parent Plus loan, which I spoke about earlier, it is an application in addition to the FAFSA. So the FAFSA has to be done first. And remember, this doesn't come out until May. So right as the summer before you're starting your first year in school, that's when this will be available. And then, of course, it's available each year. And it's important. This could also be one of those key things where we talked about at the start of the presentation. Advice is this stuff has to be done every year. You got to do the FAFSA every year. You've got to do the plus loan application every year. If you want to do it invariably, we get calls in September and October. Honestly, I just had one this week. It's like, why hasn't my plus loan posted? You haven't applied yet. So they forgot they have to do it every year. So, it's a lot to remember. We get it. We try to send out reminders and help families as best we can. What's next? Pop quiz.
It's me, yes. It's my
Tierney
favorite
has
part.
a pop quiz.
I do. It's my favorite part. I hated pop quizzes in school, though, but it's not me taking this, so it's okay. All right, let me see here. I'm going to open the first poll. And the question is, what does EFC stand for? So the acronym EFC, what does it stand for? We can't see who's answering, what. So don't worry. Just put something. Ooh. Okay, I think probably most of the people who are going to answer answered by now. I'll give it 2 more seconds. All right, I'm going to close that one. Actually, it's not going to let me close it. And we have 16 seconds for it to show the answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see. Do you guys see the answer? Not yet. Okay.
There we go. Now we see them.
Okay. All right. So most everyone got the right answer. I see. Expected family contribution. And then we have one more.
Hey, Tierney, can I say something about expected family contribution real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
That's a common misconception. Expected family contribution does not mean the amount that you have to pay. Okay, so that's a conversation that we have multiple times over the course of this process. It really is a number that we use to calculate and try to build a financial aid package from. So it's not the amount that you have to pay.
Yes, that's a good note, Chad, to make. The next question is, how many types of financial aid? I put have we discussed, but I think I changed it to are available. It's hard for me to see the full question. So how many types of financial aid are available? And you have 30 seconds. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't know why this platform does this, but of course I have to wait 12 more seconds for me to be able to show the results to you all. So hold on, hold tight. All right. And you should see the responses. Oh, okay. Okay, I guess I can say most people got it right. The answer is 4. Loretta, would you go back to that slide? Are you able to go back to show? I don't know. I feel like it was like slide. Yep, there we go. 4. Scholarships, grants, work study, and loans. All right. Thank you, guys. And oh, do we have? I think we had one question in the Q&A. Edith asked, "Where can I apply for loans?" I'm pretty sure this came maybe, Chad, as you were saying it, but do you want to just say it again?
Sure. So the student themselves will be, they don't have to do an application separate from the FAFSA for the federal direct subsidized and unsubsidized loan. So the FAFSA is all they need to do. For the Parent Plus loan, you do the additional Parent Plus loan application starting in May, right before, the school year starts in August or September. And then, of course, we didn't talk a lot about private loan options, but banks, student lending companies, many of them offer student loans, so you can do loan applications with them. One difference between the Parent Plus loan and a private loan is the Parent Plus loan credit check is a soft credit check, whereas with a private loan, the credit check is going to be your typical bank credit check.
Okay, thanks, Chad. And then Loretta, your turn.
All right, now we're going to talk about some of these processes. And, like Chad said earlier, this is normal for us. So I'm going to try to go slow and make sure that I don't use acronyms. because we're so used to that in our everyday work life. So for the FAFSA, or the free application for federal student aid, you can go to the website fafsa.gov, or now we have an app, which it's really great. So the Department of Ed has an app. It's My Student Aid app, and you can use that to keep up with your FAFSA applications. The FAFSA is available October 1st of each year, which means the 22-23 FAFSA is now available. So if you're going to be starting college at any point after June 1 of 22, you can complete your FAFSA now. Okay. You do need to check with your colleges for priority filing deadlines. Some colleges, your file is looked at as priority if you get it in before a certain point. And Chad could maybe talk about that for a second if he wants to. The college that I work for, we do rolling starts, so we're constantly accepting the FAFSA all year long. But Chad, how do you guys have a priority filing?
We do, and one of the great resources that Chev has is a page that has priority filing deadlines for the colleges in Virginia. At Tech, we basically have two dates. We have an early date that's in January 22nd, which is our scholarship deadline. And that means the general scholarship application and FAFSA need to be completed by that deadline. But if you're not going to apply for scholarships, the priority deadline is March 1. And again, Chev is a great resource to get those dates.
Great.
Yeah, and I'm actually, Loretta, I was just going to say really quick, I'm going to type some websites in the chat box. That's the box I asked everyone to keep clear. I'm going to type some of the resources we mentioned in the chat box. So look there.
That'd be great. Yes, because we want to make sure that whatever colleges you're applying for, you have the deadlines and the information for those. You will have to apply for an FSA ID. That ID will have to, you can do that on the FAFSA website, but that's going to be like your signature. So you need to make sure that you're keeping track of your ID and your password. There will be one for the student and one for the parent. And it does help filing electronically. It helps everything go much faster by using that ID. Like I said, kind of an electronic signature, and it's just yours. FAFSA collects demographic and financial information. And you can pull in tax information using what is called the IRS data retrieval tool. So the IRS data retrieval tool makes putting in your financials so much easier. You will have to know some information. You'll have to know what your tax filing status was, whether it was single, head of household, married filing joint, married filing separate. You will need to know the address that you used on that 2020 tax return that we're looking at this FAFSA. And then your name, social, those sorts of things. And you'll put that information in, and as long as everything matches, the IRS will provide those crazy numbers that we cannot keep track of because we only see them once a year, but like your AGI, adjusted gross income, your taxes paid, things like that. So it makes filling out your FAFSA so much easier. A little bit about that FSA ID. The student and parent must have the FSA ID to access FAFSA and other federal financial aid websites and to electronically sign the FAFSA. The email address for FSA ID must be different for the student and the parent. So like I said, you each would have to have your own, one for the student, one for the parent. but you can't have that email address that's tied to your ID the same as your parents or vice versa. Parents can't have it same as the student. So make sure you have 2 email addresses. Each of you have one. It can be requested at any time and used right away to sign your FAFSA, but nothing else until Social Security is verified by the Social Security Administration, which is can take up to 3 days. And like I said, do not share that FSA ID with anybody. That's just for you and your signature. Prior year taxes, that is what Chad was talking about earlier. So we're not using last year's tax return, but we're going to use the year before that. So when filling out the 22-23 FAFSA, we're going to be looking at the 2020 tax return. And if you're using the IRS data retrieval tool, it'll make it much easier to know what that information is, because it's going to pull from the correct tax year as long as you put the correct information in there. If you do not, it won't give you your tax data. This allows the student to complete their FAFSA sooner, since prior year taxes should already be filed. So before we had this method, we had just prior year, which means you could not have filled out your FAFSA until you did your 2021 taxes. So to alleviate that need to wait, we do the prior year. If you use the IRS data retrieval tool, the student and parents' tax information will be transferred directly into the FAFSA. Numbers will be hidden for privacy protection, and it is the easiest way to provide tax information. Financial aid deadlines. FAFSA is used to apply for federal, state, and institutional aid and some scholarships. A lot of the aid that you're applying for, the FAFSA is kind of the one go-to. There will be applications for other scholarships, and you know, maybe if the institution is looking for something in particular, they may have separate applications for that. But for the most part, once you fill out the FAFSA, the rest of the documents are fewer. State and institutional aid is limited, so submit your FAFSA on or soon after October 1st. Some colleges may require an additional financial aid application, such as the CSS profile. And the Virginia Tuition Assistance Grant has a separate application and the deadline of July 31st. A list of all of these deadlines for Virginia state-supported colleges is going to be available at the link shown here, but this is probably going to be one of those links that Tierney is going to make sure that you have access to in that chat box.
Yes, it's already in there.
You're awesome. Thank you. And again, contact your preferred college for updates and additional information. So when you're out there looking for those deadlines, if you're unsure, maybe, okay, there's another form that might go with something. We love it when people call and ask questions, because we would rather you call and ask questions and we help you out in the moment than you to become frustrated or to miss a deadline. So please contact your colleges to make sure you have the information you need. So some general eligibility requirements, things that you'll need to make sure that you either know or have access to. U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen, a valid social security number, a high school diploma or a GED or your homeschooling credentials, enrolled or accepted for enrollment as a regular student in an eligible degree, certificate, or credential at a participating college. So that one, the easy way to think of that is you can't just go to a college and say, I want to take this class, and this class, and have financial aid pay for it. you actually have to be enrolled in a certificate, degree, or credential program at that college. Maintain satisfactory academic process, or SAP. And SAP means that you need to pass your classes and you'll be fine. So satisfactory academic progress is how schools measure the student's progress in their academics, and whether or not it's satisfactory. So if you're passing your classes, maintaining, your 3.0, hopefully 3.0 or 2.0 or higher GPA, then you are maintaining your SAP. Again, if you do have some problems while you're in college and you're afraid that it's messing, your GPA is starting to go down a little bit, go talk to someone in your financial aid office and they'll help you out with that. Criminal convictions may limit eligibility, depends on the conviction and the type of college. And I can just speak from experience with the criminal convictions. ECPI has a criminal justice program that we offer a bachelor's degree in, and then we also have an RN and a PN program. These degrees require background checks, and if you have certain criminal convictions, or if any kind of major criminal conviction, we let you know up front, do not enroll in these programs because you're not going to be able to find a job with the background that you have. So if you do have anything like this, you may want to talk to your college, your financial aid, or even your admissions person, whoever you worked with to get enrolled, to make sure that your criminal background is not going to affect what you want to do. And
Hey, Loretta.
Yeah.
For a minute, the way you said it, I thought you were about to tell us a secret about you.
Oh, no.
Like, well, hold up now.
No, I do not.
Stop recording. No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
I do not have a criminal background. I promise. But, unfortunately, people make mistakes. We get it, but we don't want you to pay for a college program or a degree that you can't get a job in. And also, it may come up when you're doing your financial aid. So, which I'm just letting you know from a program point of view, not even a financial aid point of view, but there's more than one way to look at how criminal convictions can affect your college life. And we used to have to verify selective service registration, but thankfully that's not going to be a requirement with the 22-23 FAFSA. The FAFSA is going to ask a series of questions to determine if a student is dependent or independent. And just a little information on this, because this is something that we have to explain a lot. Sometimes we'll have a parent who says, but my student has a job, they moved out, they live on their own, they should be independent. That's not part of the criteria. So if you answer no to all of these questions, then the student is considered a dependent and the parent is going to have to provide their information on the FAFSA. If you can answer yes to any one of these questions, then your student is going to be independent and parent information does not need to go on the FAFSA. If you put it on there, it won't even be calculated in. So, is the student 24 years or older? Are they married? Are they working on a master's or doctorate program? Do they have military service, active duty or veteran, or currently enrolled for active duty? Do they have children or dependents whom they provide more than half of their support? Were they in foster care or both parents deceased, a dependent or ward of the court, an emancipated minor? Were they in legal guardianship or considered homeless or an unaccompanied youth? If you look at that question and you say, I don't know, then your student probably does not fit into that. Generally, if we have a student who fits into one of those listed at that last bullet point, they're going to have some sort of documentation. But if you're not sure, again, this is what your financial aid advisors are for. You can give them a call, explain the situation, and they can help you determine whether you answer yes or no to that question. Biological or adoptive parents, legal parents. So when filling out the FAFSA, grandparents, legal guardians, foster parents, older brothers and sisters, uncles, aunts, none of those folks are considered to be a parent on the FAFSA unless they have legally adopted the student. So if the student was raised by a grandparent and that's who they considered mom or dad, this is an area where you should contact your financial aid advisor, discuss with them your situation, and let them help you figure out who should be completing the FAFSA with the student. Okay. Again, we're looking for biological or adoptive parents. If they're not one of those two things, then we're going to have to talk to you and figure out where your parents are, who are considered your parents. I mean, there's so many. Working in financial aid for 21 years, there are so many different scenarios that we sometimes have to pick them apart little by little to figure these, the answers out to these questions. So don't be embarrassed, if you have a special situation. I'll tell you a short story about a student that I had. She said that her father had passed away and she was living with her mother, but her mother and her mother's boyfriend were on the run from the FBI. And so she didn't know what to do. So that's a situation where, like I said, do not be embarrassed. We've heard a lot of different scenarios, and we had to help her figure out how to complete the FAFSA. So that's why we're here. If the student is a dependent, we still need the parent information to go on the FAFSA, even if the student does not live with the parents. So that kind of goes back to what I was saying before. Even if that student makes, the same amount of money as their parent and they're living on their own, they have to be able to answer yes to one of those questions. Colleges may consider a special circumstance to process a dependency override. Contact the financial aid office for additional information. That goes back to that biological adoptive parent. For that student whose mom was not in the picture because of her legal matters, we did eventually have to do that dependency override to make that student independent.
Hey, Loretta.
Yeah.
This is your 5-minute warning.
No.
I know. No, I'm going to say maybe try to finish up in 5 to 7 minutes. And then if we have questions, we can take those. But
Absolutely.
Once you're done, I'm going to do the scholarship winner.
Oh, and we want to get to that. That's our favorite part.
Yes, the money. Yes, free money.
Yes, yes. So real quick, which parent? If the parents are married, regardless of whether they live together or not, we're going to put both parents' information on there. If the parents are living together but not married to each other, we're still going to have all that information for both. In the cases of a divorce or separation, the student should provide the information for the parent whom they lived with most in the last 12 months. If the student did not live with one parent more than the other, then provide information for the parent who provided the student most of the financial support in the last 12 months. If divorced or widowed parent has remarried, then we do need the student's step parent information, and that's because we're looking at it as a household and not as individuals. Household size, you're going to be asked that on your FAFSA. So when you're looking at the household size, you want to include the student, the parents, the dependents. If you're a dependent student, then the dependents that your parents have, other brothers and sisters, whoever your parents are providing more than half of the support for, they need to be counted in the household size. And when you fill out your 22-23 FAFSA, just make sure that you are using the correct dates. And Tierney, I don't think you have the correct dates on here. So we're looking at July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2023.
We are.
For 22-23.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
So I just wanted to point that out because I didn't want anyone to see that and be confused. I don't mean to point out that you missed that you put the wrong date.
Oh, not a problem at all. I'll fix that though before I send it out.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mistakes can be costly, so make sure you're reading the instructions and complete carefully. Incorrect or missing information may delay the process and result in a loss of financial aid. Common mistakes.
Okay, see, Loretta, you said mistakes, and I made a mistake. You were talking about me.
That's what we do. We're human. We're human.
Okay, you're right.
Most common mistakes, paying for help, don't pay. So this is, you've heard this a couple of times. This is a free form, and free assistance is available. That's why we have financial aid offices in your colleges. We spend a lot of time helping our students complete their FAFSAs and making sure that it's done the right way. Even if it's over the phone, feel free to call and ask questions. Should I put this on here? Does it belong on here? That sort of thing. Incorrect Social Security numbers will hold you up because it does go through a Social Security Administration check. Divorced or remarried parental information, make sure we have all the correct data for that. And back to that Social Security number, changes in names, they hold up our FAFSAs a lot. So we need to make sure that we're using whatever name is on your Social Security card. Inaccurate tax or untaxed income, real estate, investment net worth information, make sure you're reading through each of those. Tax filing status errors. If you should have filed married filing joint or had a household, just make sure you're using those correct tax filing statuses. Incorrect household size and household members in college. And when you read the instructions on the FAFSA, it will say not to include parents in that members in college. Okay. After the FAFSA, then what? So after the FAFSA, the student's going to receive what we call a SAR, or a student aid report, via link in an email. If they provided an email, if not, they will get it by mail. And then what you want to do is look at the SAR comments and check for accuracy, make sure everything on there is correct. You can still fix things, afterwards. So make sure that what's on there is correct. Make sure you've met all the admissions and financial aid deadlines. If you're selected for verification, make sure those documents are turned in. Submit any required documents to the college. Colleges will review your FAFSA information to determine your eligibility for federal, state, and institutional aid. And once you receive your financial aid award package from colleges, review and compare them. Know your prices and your cost. Okay. If your file is selected for verification, it is random, and it's just one of those things that happens to approximately 10%, maybe 15% of students. Don't feel like you're being targeted. I promise you're not. But the process that the college uses to confirm that the data reported on your FAFSA is accurate. So that's what verification is for. So the U.S. Department will randomly select applications. Some colleges verify all applicants. If you did not use the IRS data retrieval tool and are selected for verification, You can go back into your FAFSA and update using the data retrieval tool, or you may be required to submit an IRS tax transcript to the college, which is a pain. I promise you it's a pain. So use that data retrieval tool when you can. Contact your financial aid office about the verification process, and financial aid cannot be released to a student's account until this step is complete. Call your FA advisor. Effects of an outside award. Students are required to notify the college of all outside or private scholarships and grants. It could result in a change to your award package if the outside aid causes you to exceed your financial need or your cost of attendance. So that goes back to the beginning when Chad was explaining what those things are. Scholarships and grants, even if not awarded by the school, do still count in those calculations. Typically, colleges will reduce loans first since they require repayment. A revised award notification will be sent to the student. When you have a financial aid package put together, you will get an award notification. So if your package has to be changed, you will get an updated one. Changes in circumstances, loss of income or benefits, death of a parent divorce or separation after the FAFSA is filed, unusually high medical expenses not reimbursed by your insurance. Those are all things that you can bring to your financial aid advisor and discuss a professional judgment. And that basically means that your financial aid advisor may adjust some of the information either in your cost of attendance or your on your FAFSA to more accurately reflect your current financial situation. Applicants are required to report 2020 tax information on the 22-23 FAFSA. If major changes have occurred since then, they may qualify for a PJ. So with all the COVID stuff, if anything has happened since your 2020 tax returns have been filed and now, that again is something you can bring to the attention of your financial aid advisor, and they may look to see if we need to make some adjustments on your FAFSA to be more accurate as of today or that day that you're doing it. What does the College Financial Aid Office do? We assist students and their families in understanding and utilizing financial aid resources. We determine the federal, state, and institutional aid eligibility. We verify the FAFSA information. We review special circumstances. We award financial aid. We send award notifications with award amounts, disbursement methods, time frames, and any terms and conditions for each award. And we monitor eligibility. And that kind of goes along with that SAP that we were talking about earlier. So we're going to keep an eye on that while you're in school. Start the process early. Check with colleges for priority filing deadlines. Know what information and forms you need. Provide accurate information. Save copies of everything. Check your email regularly and follow up with your college. Loans require repayment. Be a responsible borrower, only borrow what you need. If you have questions, ask, contact the College Financial Aid Office. That's why we're there. All right, Tierney. This is the part everybody's been waiting for.
Okay, and I really hope it works out well, because I had to put all of the registrants' names in the raffle wheel. But obviously, I mean, we had 80 registrants and only about 20, I don't know, 3 participants right now or attendees right now. So,
okay. Well, we may have more than, I guess we probably have more than one even, you know, sharing a screen or something.
Maybe. Let me see here. Okay, so can you pass the, let me see. Oh, I'm going to pass it to myself. Never mind. I need to share my screen.
Take it over.
Okay. And then This is my moment. I got to do this right. Okay, share. That was easy. Okay. All right. Can you see it? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I just have to click this, and when I say the person's name, you must type claim or claimed in the chat box to claim your scholarship. If the person who types claimed, excuse me for that pop-up, if the person who types claimed is not on, then you can't win the scholarship, and we'll try for the next one and hope that we're lucky that that person is on. All right, so here we go. It's $500 college scholarship, and we will let you know all the details on claiming that. Sometime next week, you should get an email about that, and it's sponsored by ECMC. Okay, let's see. Ooh. Do you see that? Loretta, can you see
Yes,
that?
we can see it.
Chad. Okay, let's see. Are they on? Let me see. I don't even get back to this. Hold on. Do you see anybody in the chat, guys?
Let me double check.
Do
All right,
not.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay. All right, I'm going to the next one. I really don't want this to take long. Who's I'm here? Hold on. I'm sorry, somebody said I'm here. Aiden Waterfield? Type claimed. And we have to see your name as the one who types claimed. Okay. This isn't going so well.
I know. I'm waiting on someone to get excited.
I'm going to keep spinning. I don't know if you have any questions or you guys want to reiterate something. But let me try again. Deja Carter? Type claimed if you're here. No? Okay. Let's try. Let me see. Deja Carter. Claimed. No? Okay. Oh, she's yes! Okay. I'm sorry. I got really excited. She is on. She sent it to me privately.
Oh,
the host.
yay!
So Deja Carter is the winner of the $500 college scholarship. So Deja, we will email you. So make sure you check your inbox and your spam. It's going to come from a financialaid@chev.edu email address. So sometimes that does go to spam. Make sure you check that in the next, I'd say 5 to 7 business days for more details on what you need to do to claim your scholarship. Thank you. That wasn't so bad. I just had to, was that the third time? Like a third time's the charm
Yes.
type of thing?
Yep, third time was a charm.
Yep.
Okay. Whew.
Well, congratulations, Deja.
Yes. And then do we have any, I'm going to stop sharing now. Do we have any more questions? This has been a pretty quiet group.
There was someone asking about common misconceptions, and Chad kind of answered with, the expected family contribution is not what they have to pay. But also, when I was talking about dependent and independent students, there's a lot of misconceptions over that like I said, everyone thinks, well, my child makes their own money. I don't pay for them anymore. That's one of the biggest misconceptions that I run into.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
And it looks like, I don't know when this popped up, but Lavelle and Don, I think they said they have a question. I don't know if they raised their hand or what, but if you can type it, we'll take it in the chat or Q&A at this point, then please do. Loretta, do you mind sharing your screen again? Let me pass it to you because we had some resources.
Oh, shoot.
Okay. Well, we're going to put these resources up. I think. Is Loretta there? Did I lose you, Loretta?
No, I lost my screen.
Oh,
but I'm back. I found
okay.
it.
Okay.
There we go. Now let me go on to the next slide.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. There's some of the resources that we mentioned.
Yeah, and most of those I put in the chat. So.
And that's studentaid.gov. You can get to your FSA ID, your FAFSA. You can get to a lot of stuff from that one link, and lots of great information on there as well.
Yeah. Well, all right. I want to thank everyone for attending the webinar. And again, we will make sure you receive the recording and slides by next week sometime. And of course, you'll have the slides, so you'll have all the resources. Congratulations, Jada. I think Lori has a question. She just maybe raised her hand. Lori, do you want to type it in the chat or Q&A?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
I see it, Kenny.
Okay.
The question is, I submitted the FAFSA to the colleges, but my daughter has not submitted the Common App yet. Will her app and FAFSA get linked up at some point? The answer to that is yes, it will. And the most seamless way to do that is to make sure that your daughter includes her social security number on her admissions application or on the Common App. That allows us to link to the FAFSA a lot more quickly.
Okay. And then Rahima, I think I pronounced that right. She's asking, with current assets, do we list the money in the account even if it is for bills, to pay for bills?
So yeah, you list your assets as of the day you do the FAFSA.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, I think that's it. And it's 7:15. Yes, Lavelle, we will be emailing the attendees the recording and slides. All right. Thank you all, and have a great evening. Thanks again to Loretta and Chad.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.